networker is like a great interviewer.
I'm huge on authenticity, guys. It's a big part of my message.
Claim your local listings and don't get caught paying someone for your local listing.
If you want to be successful, you got to do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times.
And when in doubt, give to other people and don't expect anything in return. But in giving to other people and helping them, it almost always comes back.
It's using the power of partnership, creating trusted partner networks to work with you to make your company be an offer more than just you.
They've done 90% of the work. It's your job to do the last 10% to meet them in the middle.
Don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Ask Valor Masterminds podcast, brought to you by Advanced Services and Fuse Networks. My name's Galen.
And I'm Joe.
We're coming to you virtually from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. So Joe, for our new listeners and viewers tuning in or downloading our content, how did this podcast come to be?
Sure. So it first started out as a private Facebook group page where we wanted to bring business owners together to kind of just communicate with one another, ask questions, share tips around business. And from that, it kind of just turned into a podcast where we wanted to bring on different guest speakers for each episode to kind of just share their knowledge with our audience on all different topics related to business.
Awesome. So before we introduce our guest today, just a quick takeaway from our previous episode. So Joe, tell me something.
All right.
Keep a secret? Can you keep a secret? Because our last episode, we had Pear Chauffeurs, the Price Whisperer, right? So a really cool episode to tune into. What was one of your takeaways from our last episode?
Sure. So one of the biggest takeaways for me, I think, was changing your profits. So he said, if you change your profits, if you could double your profits just by 1%, it will have a profound impact on your overall profits for the business.
And a 1% price increase, right? Not just 1% on the whole, but tune in. A great episode. All right, so today's guest, we have Lisa Wilber. So Joe, can you start with the formal introduction of our guest, please?
Sure. I hope this intro does her justice. So Lisa Wilber was named Avon's Woman of Enterprise, the top honor given to independent representatives by the company. She has also been included in numerous times on the 50 most influential people in direct sales list and earned Avon's Yellow Rose of Courage. Other awards include being named top female network marketer in the world and voted the most ambitious Women's Choice Award.
Lisa has been selling and team building for Avon since 1981 when she was 18 years old. When Avon introduced their network marketing program entitled Leadership, Lisa was able to attain the top level achievement within 15 months of joining the program. She and her team have consistently performed in the top 10 in team sales volumes in the United States for over 25 years. Attaining her professional status with the National Speakers Association, she has conducted seminars around the world, including Canada, Ireland, the UK, and across the US.
Lisa is the author of 3 books and the co-author of a half a dozen more, including her trademark anthology book series entitled A View from the Top, which includes chapters by over 60 top leaders in Avon. Her latest book, Said the Lady with Blue Hair, co-authored with our previous guest, Jeff West, recently named a silver medalist at the Axiom Business Book Awards. Everyone, please welcome Lisa.
Thank you.
All right. So I remember as a kid, even, my mom having Avon catalogs and everything, and I'd peruse them and look. But I always remember them. She always had them every year. She had a local Avon person. So that brand is strong and still going strong today. So we're so glad to have you on.
Thank you very much.
All right. So let's get to know you a little bit more. So this is the part of our podcast where we ask guests some questions to get to know them. So I'll ask the first question. So what are some early lessons learned as an entrepreneur?
I think the big one for me is that I needed to believe in myself more. At the beginning of my career, doing this full-time, I did it part-time for a few years. And then when I needed to go full-time, I never even thought of doing this full-time. My then husband, I had come home crying because I got laid off my job. And he said, why don't you do more with that Avon thing you've been playing with? And I'm thinking, oh yeah, right. Thanks for the tip. Because no one that I knew was earning enough to do full time with that. So I said, I don't even know anybody selling what I need to earn. And there's a difference between what you sell and what you earn. And he said, just because someone else isn't doing it, why can't you be the one? And I took that as a vote of confidence. I figured he knows me. He must know I can do this, because I didn't think I could do it, but I thought he did. And I'll tell you the sad truth about that is that later, a couple years later, he heard me telling somebody that story. And he said, you don't go around telling people that, do you? When I hung up the phone, he said that. And I said, well, yeah, believe it or not, that one conversation gave me enough courage to make this a big business. And he said, I only said all that stuff back then so you'd quit crying. He said, I never dreamed you'd do anything with it. So my advice is believe in yourself first, because I borrowed belief that wasn't even real to get over the hump. If I'd only believed in myself more from the beginning, I'd be farther along.
That's awesome. So with that, then, what's the best piece of advice that you've been given?
I think and it's actually one of the rules in the book, is the success rule. You can be successful at anything if enough people know what you do. So I heard that, I don't even know who I heard it from. I may have read it in a magazine or something, but once I heard it, it made so much sense to me that I've spent my entire entrepreneurial life, every time I'm in a project of any kind, whether it's charity or my business or the book or Avon, I just try to get more people to know what I'm doing every day. So I don't necessarily try to sell people. I don't try to sign people up. I just try to get a lot of people to know what I'm doing. And then a percent want to do business with me. And that's worked so well for me, to just every single day try to get more people to know what I do.
That's awesome. So since we are a marketing company, and this is technically a marketing podcast, why is marketing important?
Well, if you don't tell people what you do, nobody will know. You know what I mean? So at the beginning, I actually thought, for example, with Avon, I thought if I do really well, Avon will highlight me in their literature or whatever, and I can get more mileage out of it by using that. And the reality is they don't just going to find me out of the blue. So I realized that and started raising my
pun.
Right.
Find out of the blue.
Part of the out of the blue, right? But I raised my hand and I said, hey, I'm doing really well out here in rural New Hampshire, and I've got a story I think that people would like to hear. I had to do that over and over for Avon Corporate to find me. And if I hadn't done that, the big breakthrough early on was they featured me in a video called The Rich and Famous of Avon. And that was like in the year 2000, I think. And it changed my whole trajectory of my business, because once I was in their video and magazine, I personally bought thousands of them and gave them out all over the place. And I just said, I didn't even try to sell it. I just said, I thought you might get a kick out of seeing me in this video. That's all I said, but it got more people to know what I'm doing. So I think you can't just sit back and expect people to find you or hear about your story. Even if you do really well, you have to be the one to go out there and market yourself, build your own brand.
So just a quick follow-up to that, a kind of a loaded question on the marketing side. So with the advent of social media and everything, not only for Avon, but for a lot of direct sales people in our audience and everything, how important is social media now?
Oh, it's very important, but it's a tool in the toolbox. So, I mean, I still do all the stuff in real life. It's just another way to reach more people and get more people to know what you do. So to me, it's not one or the other. It's one of the tools that I use to get more people to know what I do. So
our hashtag Valor Cares initiative. So Joe, a good way for people to find out about you is your website. And we're really proud of our hashtag Valor Cares initiative. Can you share some details on that, please?
Sure. It's just the opportunity for businesses to have a strong online foundation for their business. So what we do is people go to our website, submit their information, and we choose winners each month and give out free websites to businesses who just need a better online foundation.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Our Advanced services, Pump You Up quote of the day. And normally when we have quotes, it's quotes by people like them. But the cool thing with today's quote is Lisa has actually met Zig Ziglar. So a Zig Ziglar quote: "You don't build a business, you build people, and then people build the business." So please share your insight on why that's so important to you.
Well, in my business, I'm not a giant personal seller. I have the recognition because I have a big, giant team. So my team of people is everything to me. So I have to set a good example. I have to provide motivation and recognition, but the people are what make my business. So I just think I don't know, it's everything.
So I'm curious then, did you focus on selling the product or Avon, or did you focus more on building your team?
Actually, I don't look at those as two separate functions. To me, the opportunity is a product that we offer. So when I'm talking to somebody, my job isn't to trot out whatever I'm selling. It's ask them questions to see if they have a need I can fill. And sometimes their need is that they want a new job, or they don't like their boss, or they don't like their hours or their pay. And that means it's the opportunity that would be a big fit for them, not a face cream. So I'm just asking questions and trying to be of service. I don't think of it as I'm going out recruiting or I'm going out selling. I'm just trying to be of service.
Nice. One follow-up question, and maybe you don't have to answer this. Roughly how many people are on your team?
I get paid on 3 generations, but I have 10 generations deep, and it's it's about 5,500 in the 10 generations.
Ooh.
Only in the United States. So, but I did check, there is someone in every state. I have downline in every state.
Nice.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. All right, our Fuse Networks, did you know? So our Fuse tip of the day: why is the Internet of Things so vulnerable? The IoT is insecure, and this fact comes from several contributing factors. For one, smart devices have forced manufacturers into a position where they have to get a lot of devices in the hands of consumers, leading them to cut corners on built-in security functionality. Another reason that people simply don't just realize how insecure the devices are, which in turn means that the consumers are not doing enough to the network side of things to keep these device from creating problems. So how can you secure your at-home IoT network? Secure your router, use a guest network, change individual passwords, make those passwords unique, and use 2-factor authentication. So IoT, for those that don't know, like your smart home devices, like your Amazon Alexas, your Google Home, when people search, they use their voice rather than type. And sometimes these devices have not the most security concerns. So contact Fuse Networks for a free consultation. So our Did You Know? Joe, you want to read our myths for our Did You Know, please?
Sure. And I actually love this one. So a person cannot earn full-time income in direct sales. Lisa, can you give a little insight into how that's not true?
I actually thought that too. It never even dawned on me that someone could earn full-time. And the reason I always bring it up now is because the reason I didn't know it wasn't true is because I'd never met anybody that was earning full-time income from direct sales. It actually is no different than any other business. It's just a way to distribute products. So of course you could earn full-time money if you gave it full-time attention. If you treat it like a business, you're going to get paid like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, it's going to cost you like a hobby does. So I think that's the trick, is our mindset. I needed to see somebody making full-time income and I didn't. Right. So I want to tell you, there are plenty of people, including me, that have made full-time income in direct sales for, I don't even want to tell you how long now, because you fellas are younger than me.
But I think you hit it on the head with that, because you said that you have to treat it as a full-time business. And I think a lot of people who get into direct sales like you do, they think, oh, I could just jump in here and I'm going to make a ton of money right off the bat from it because I know all kinds of people, right? But then I think they fail to just reach out beyond the people that they know.
Well, and it takes some self-discipline, because I know even now when I tell people I do this and I work from home, they say, oh, good, you can do whatever you want. Well, not really. If I'm not strict with what I do and do work every day, I don't make progress towards my earning goals and stuff. So I can't just sit around and do whatever I want. I have to be my own boss and stay strict about myself.
Right.
So you're right.
So let's get
And-
into the book. Joe, do you have the book you can show and read the title to our audience?
Of course I do.
For the audio listeners, can you read the title of the book, please?
Yep. It's called Said the Lady with Blue Hair, 7 Rules for Success in Direct Sales, wrapped in a wonderful lesson for life, by Lisa and Jeff West.
All right. So the 3 rules we'll cover today are the success rule, the naughty rule, and the wood stove rule. So I guess we'll start off with the first one. So talk to us about the success rule, please, to our audience.
You know, we did touch on it, but I heard somewhere early on that if enough people know what you do, you could be successful. And I've always believed that was true, because every time I've used that, it's been true. I mean, I live in a rural town in New Hampshire. There's 10,000 people over 53 square miles, very small density per population. And yet I'm number 5 in the United States.
Wow.
Because enough people know what I do. So, and I just made sure that people in my little area knew, and then I kept expanding my radius and tried to get more and more and more people to know what I do. So I think that that rule can apply to anything, including I've used that selling Girl Scout cookies. I've used that producing a play in town. If enough people know what you do, you can be successful at anything.
So for you then, because our audience listening, especially today, they're going to jump in here. How did you spread the word about what you do?
Actually, I thought my company says knock doors, and I knew that wasn't going to be, I don't know, relevant out in rural New Hampshire, right? Because of 2 things, right? Dogs and guns. But
Yeah.
so I thought, what would other companies do? So I've all along looked at what other companies are doing, and then I try to find some way to do that, either in a different way or smaller way or something. One of the first things I did bring a picture, which I'll have to describe, I guess, if some people aren't seeing this, but I went out and saw, this is just an example. There was a guy delivering oil across the street from me when I lived in the trailer park. And I looked on the oil truck and it had the company name. And I thought, well, that's awesome. I could just put the company name on my car. And I've done that ever since I saw that. This is one of my earlier cars, but it was just vinyl letters of the company name and my phone number. And
Nice.
then this is a pizza sign, because I saw somebody delivering pizza with one of those signs. And I stopped and asked the guy, I'm like, how do you get one of those signs? And he said, I'll sell you this one. He said, it makes a lot of noise when you go down the road. And at the time I was driving a Yugo. I wasn't going to hear it. So,
And this is before
always
the time of vehicle wraps and everything, before fancier, you get your whole vehicle. You did this.
right. And I have
the original way.
now. Yeah, now I have a vehicle wrap. But at the time, even now in direct sales, you don't see a lot of people with a wrap on. And in my area, I'm rural enough. We don't have taxi, we don't have pizza delivery, none of that stuff. So it still is effective today, a lot of these kind of things, because more people find out what you do. Every time I go somewhere, someone else finds out what I do.
Awesome. So let's get into the second one. I'm afraid to ask, but what is the naughty rule?
Okay, I'm actually known for the naughty rule. The naughty rule is it's easier to apologize than to ask permission. And actually the car is one of those things. The first car that I did was a Yugo, which isn't the picture I showed you. This one's the Hyundai, but the first one was a Yugo. And the Avon employee that was the manager in the area, she actually came to my house and said, you can't do that. And I said, where'd you see that? Because I looked in the rules. I didn't see that. And I didn't ask ahead. I just did it, right? She said, the other Avon ladies are mad because you did it. And I said, they can do it too.
Yep.
You know, that doesn't make it against the rules. That just makes them not doing it yet. So I didn't take it down because it wasn't a rule. And it was probably, I don't know, 5 years later that the company featured me on the screen when they had their 125th anniversary in Madison Square Garden with my vehicle wrapped like that.
Oh wow.
So
That's
that's
amazing.
almost, the naughty rule is almost always like that, right? You get in trouble at the time it happens and people are mad. And then a little bit later, they act like you were a genius for doing it. So, but it's easier to apologize than to ask permission is something I do a lot. Because usually if I ask permission, they say no. So I
Yeah.
just go ahead and do it. And then if I get in trouble, I change what I'm doing.
So did you notice then that the ladies who were angry or let's say jealous of something you thought of before they did you notice then other women selling Avon in your area started doing that right away?
No, matter of fact, a lot of them quit over it because they just assumed I was getting all the business, which
Oh, so they were
wasn't
threatened. Yeah.
right. And I was driving a Yugo. It wasn't even a nice lettering job at the beginning there. I did the lettering myself. So the letters were like this. They weren't even even. And with the Yugo, I've actually had a bunch of customers had to help push start it with me. You know, we
Nice.
all running down and trying
Yep.
to pop the clutch.
Right.
So, and it was funny that the other reps were intimidated by that, when in reality, I wasn't getting a huge bunch more business, but I was once they all started leaving. Because they
Yeah.
started leaving, their customers came to me because I was the one left.
Yeah. Essentially you were branding yourself in your local community.
Yes, and I think that's just increased more and more. And with social media, when I go to do my, like the wrap I have on my van right now, I specifically said to the Fast Signs guy, I need some kind of gimmick on this van this time that's going to play on social media, because more people are going to see the van on social media than they are in real life. So
Mhm.
what we did was, on the back window, there's a big giant set of lips, and the wiper is a lipstick.
Oh,
So every time
nice.
I turn my back wiper on, it puts lipstick on the lips.
Genius.
So
Oh, that's your catchy thing.
that was
So
specifically
that's
for social media.
Nice.
so the last rule, the wood stove rule. Talk to us about that, please.
Now, I live in rural New Hampshire, so this one was a way that I thought of to explain to a new Avon representative. When I talked to someone and signed them up to sell, they would say things to me like, I'll buy catalogs and bring them to customers when I'm making more money first. So they weren't going to invest in their business until they got paid first. But it doesn't work that way. So I was trying to think of a way that would make sense to them. So I said, I can't sit on my couch and enjoy the heat from my wood stove unless I put the wood in first.
Mhm.
So that's the wood stove rule, is that you have to put wood in the stove before you get heat out. And I know it seems obvious, but I'm continuously surprised how many people think that you can have any kind of business, including a direct sales business, where you don't put anything in, no time, no money, and get profits out. You have to
Right.
put in time and money to get profits out of a business. That's just the way it is. So that's the wood stove rule. You have to put wood in if you want to get heat out.
I mean, that pertains
So for
to
people,
sorry, that
oh,
pertains to any
good.
business, because
Yes.
any business, especially if you're just starting out, right? They get a website or they build a free website or they pay for one, and then they're like, I can't afford to do marketing yet because I'm not making any money. And it's the thinking the opposite way. I need to invest in my business first so that I'm making more money so that I can do more.
And it's even today, I have people say, I'd recognize it, like the team building thing. I'd recognize my team members if I was making the money you're making, they say to me. And I say, you know what? I wouldn't be making the money I'm making if I hadn't been doing that from the beginning. And
Yeah.
at the beginning, it was a sacrifice. It was hard I spent more money in the business than I did on myself personally. I lived in the trailer park after I was making six figures because I was investing so much back in the business. But that's how it works. Now I get
So
to
real
have a
quick,
big career. Go ahead.
so there are a lot of people who do, maybe not with your exact company, but other companies too. And it's almost like a bell curve where you hear the high successes, and in the middle, there are a lot of people that are kind of stuck average, the people starting out who burn quickly and fail, right? So is there things you see when you look at and you go to like these conferences and you get awards and you see other team members who want to be at the level you're at? Are there one or two things that you see those people are doing wrong or not doing? Because it's often the small things that push you over the edge, right? Or they don't want to sacrifice. Can you talk to us about like one or two of those things?
I think one of the big ones that I notice all the time is that I'll say to someone, if you're expecting to earn part-time income, are you putting in part-time hours? If you're expecting to put full-time income, are you doing full-time hours? And they'll be like, I don't have time to put a lot of work into that, but you're expecting, I mean, you can't just say, well, I don't have time to go into work if you have a job. So you have to make the time. I think they're not investing the amount of hours, and they're looking at me thinking I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? And I am.
Right.
I work a lot, and matter of fact, I get complaints from my family and stuff for working so much. But that's the way it goes when you're a business owner and entrepreneur. I think that you have to put in the hours if you expect to get the pay. And you have to treat it like a real business. You have to be continuously learning and going to stuff outside of your industry and going to all the industry stuff too. You have to take it all on board and see what's going to work for you.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, so after, let's say it's a woman who wants to get into selling makeup and she works a 9-to-5 job, she goes home, she takes care of the kids. So what you're saying is at the end of that time frame, instead of maybe sitting on the couch and watching TV after the kids are in bed, maybe take that 2-3 hours they have to themselves and put it back into the business, correct?
Yes. And every little time that you have during the day, like for a coffee break, maybe don't sit there for a half hour and chat with the other lady at the other desk. Get out your phone and text some of your customers, or find new customers, or just find somebody else to tell that you're doing it. Because the more people that know what you do, the more successful you'll be. But I think it's hard to do. I know you want it to be easy. People want it to be easy when they join. But if you're going to work a full-time job and build this on the side, it's going to be hard. But it's also going to be worth it. I mean, the freedom that I've had working this full-time now for years and years, you can't beat it. I adopted a son and raised the son on my own with my income from the direct sales business, and the freedom I had to go to school stuff and be here when the bus came and all that. You just can't beat it compared to a regular job, but it has taken a lot of sacrifice.
Nice.
That's awesome. So for our people in our audience who may want to contact you, what's the best way to contact you?
Me?
Yes.
Actually, I'll give my regular my text number is 603-345-9466, and my email is lwilber@aol.com, and Wilber spelled with an E. You can also connect with me on Facebook. That's my main platform. Does that age me? I think so.
It doesn't, because that's my main platform too.
Oh, good.
And the book, how can people purchase your book?
Actually, it's on most of the online retailers, including Amazon. We also did an awesome Audible version. So we do have it Kindle, the paperback, and the Audible version. And we're just now getting ready to launch the hardcover. So it's all things.
All right. Before we leave, cue image 3. Joe, one last plug for our #Valor Cares initiative, please.
Yep. If you love free things and you're looking to have a free website build, go to the website, submit your information, and hope we can build you a free website for your business.
Right. And as Lisa said, the more people know about what you do, it's better. A website is one of those cornerstone things you need for an online presence for people to discover you and everything. So, well, Lisa, it was great. Thank you for being our guest today and sharing your time with us. So on behalf of our sponsors, Advanced Services and Fuse Networks, my name is Galen.
I'm Joe.
And we're signing off from the BD Local Studios in Tacoma, Washington. Thanks for watching and listening to this episode of the Valor Masterminds podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
good networker is like a great interviewer.
I'm huge on authenticity, guys. It's a big part of my message.
Claim your local listings and don't get caught paying someone for your local listing.
If you want to be successful, you got to do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times.
And when in doubt, give to other people and don't expect anything in return. But in giving to other people and helping them, it almost always comes back.
It's using the power of partnership, creating trusted partner networks to work with you to make your company be an offer more than just you.
They've done 90% of the work. It's your job to do the last 10% to meet them in the middle.
Don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning.